Okay, so let's talk about Six. She's the main character of the main game, and we don't know very much about her despite the whole story being based around her. So, what do we know about her so far? Well, we know she's been in the Maw for an undisclosed amount of time. We know she carries around a Zippo-style lighter and has a raincoat. We know she is afflicted by some kind of hunger that it seems the other kids are not. We know that the hunger is not restricted to normal food, and we know that when she consumes a living thing, like a rat, gnome, or main antagonist, she does not actually consume the physical mass of the thing. We know that while she eats, there's a dark color-swapped version of her that appears as well. We know that the other kids know about her, and we know that she appears in a bunch of the art and junk on the Maw. Let's take a look at these things and apply reason, theory, and just wild, unbased speculation to them, and hopefully come out with something that's cohesive on the other side. How long has Six been on the Maw? Well, we know that she first wasn't on the Maw, and then she was afterwards, thanks to this bit of the first volume of the comic. She was off the Maw in some kind of terrifying city full of the same kind of being that are the guests on the Maw. The ferryman points her out, and then everyone notices her. Quick rabbit hole, why does it seem like the city doesn't know she's there until the ferryman points her out? How did she get there? Is that where she's from? If not, where is she from? Anyway, we see after that point she goes to the Maw by means of the rowboat piloted by the ferryman. She's wearing the same raincoat when she gets there because she's wearing that raincoat and with the same curious lack of shoes in the city where she's caught. It was raining there, so it kind of makes sense. It also sort of implies that the city we see her in is the one she's from, that she had like a house or some other sort of dwelling nearby where she could store a raincoat for a day like the rainy one we see her in. Chronologically, this seems to be the earliest bit of the story of Little Nightmares that we have yet seen. Okay, so the ferryman brings Six to the Maw. Between that time and when the game starts, Six is there long enough and with enough of a presence that the other kids on the Maw become familiar enough with her to not only recognize her on sight, but draw pictures of her and know something about her significance. This doesn't explain the presence of the paintings of Six that are on the Maw, plenty of which do exist. So how do we reconcile this? Well, here's the first bit of wild speculation. The paintings on the Maw are not of Six, but rather of the lady when she was a child. The portrait of a small child and a ladylike figure that we see in the hallway while being chased by the other guests is the lady as a child and her predecessor. The painting of the lady with the four other darkened lady-type figures implies that there are others like her, so it's not far-fetched to think that the ladyship of the Maw is an inherited title. Especially with a name like Governess in the file name for many of her images, it's possible that the lady inherits the Maw, runs it for some undisclosed amount of time, then switches gears when the next inheritor comes about and teaches them how to do it, becoming Governess, while the new inheritor learns what they're doing. So what if it's a sort of reincarnation kind of thing, a sort of transfer of point in time of each successor? Okay, hear me out, because I know this isn't like most of my theories that are backed by a lot of evidence, but just trust me on this one. What if Six is the lady? What if all the successors of the Maw have simply been that same person, reborn into an identical body as a child so that the lineage of the Maw is never tarnished? And then when the time comes for the new one to take the place of the old one, the governess gives the spirit of the lady to the new successor and dies. What if Six isn't the first one who had to fight the lady in this lineage passed down? This bit's actually supported by some evidence. Check it out. When we get to the Maw, pretty much all of the mirrors in the areas that the lady goes to are broken. But why? If we are to believe that the face we see in the data mine is in fact the lady's real face, which I'm still not ready to endorse 100%, but kind of am being forced to by means of the fact that we can kind of see her face when we're done with the fight with her at the end. Her mask is sitting on the ground near her, and while she's in shadow, we do get to see what would be her face. then she has no reason to destroy mirrors because of her supposed quote-unquote ugliness or whatever. In fact, we even see her using a broken mirror to help brush her hair. She's not afraid of her own reflection, so why break mirrors? Well, that's to prevent them being used as a weapon against her, like she had once used them against her previous self. Unfortunately, she misses one of them, the single mirror left that isn't broken. For someone as tall as her, it would be easy to overlook the boarded up door and not see the possible opening that her new, tinier self could exploit. So little Six finds the mirror through her ingenuity and uses it to defeat the lady, just like the lady did when she was younger. I have to take a step back here and make it clear that any and all of my speculation is based on as much evidence as I could gather for it, which is in some cases not much. I will also reference theories that I may not personally agree with, but that's the magic of being a theorist with the other talented people that are in this field. I don't have to agree with the theory to find it interesting, and I can make speculations based on them. So that said, Six's name being Six because she's the sixth person in line for the Maw's ownership, thanks to the 5 ladylike figures in the paintings, makes sense in the context of this theory. I'm still not sure I buy this explanation myself, but it does have some weight to it. So in answer to that question, how long has Six been on the Maw, a possible set of answers might be forever, and also not long at all, probably no more than a few months at best, at the same time. Let's talk about Six's gear, specifically the lighter. Where did Six get a lighter? Especially the one the size of a little girl's hands that she could fit in her pocket. In a world like this one where everything is pretty weirdly sized, that's an interesting question. Let's look for some mundane explanations first. We see that Six's little hovel with the suitcase bed in it has pretty much only one entrance and exit, and that it's quite a long way until there's a point after which she couldn't easily and quickly go back. In one of the last rooms before there's a drop without something that she could move or climb back on to go easily back, we see the room with the couch, the random hanging furniture, the porthole through which we see something, and the ashtray full of cigarettes. This is the simplest explanation. The lighter was somewhere near the ashtray because it makes sense that you'd keep a lighter with your cigarettes. Since that room has plenty of easily movable looking things to be able to reach the vent that goes into it, it's not a stretch to think that Six has been in that room a few times before we start the game. If we take into account the canned food and the like over by her suitcase, then she may have been there for a while, and I know if I were in a place like that one, I'd definitely go exploring at least a little bit. So maybe she got her lighter there, but if that's not the case, then let's think about where else she could have gotten it. One thought springs to mind immediately: the chefs. We know that one of them smokes, we've seen him doing it on a balcony, and we see him periodically cough and hack like a smoker would. Maybe the lighter belongs to one of them? Could it be that Six has been through other areas of the lower portions of the Maw before, and had lifted it from somewhere the chef had left it? Well, that's also a possibility. A less likely one, but a possibility nonetheless. This is assuming that she even got it while on the Maw at all. She could very well have had it in her back pocket in the city. So our options are she took it from the room next to the hangman's corpse, or she somehow swiped it from the chef, or she just had it to begin with. So Six gets these crippling hunger pangs that force her to eat something, or presumably pass out or die. However, the runaway kid does not, and we play in the depths for at least as long as it would be for one or two of Six's hunger fits. Why is this? Why does Six get these weird attacks? Well, here's what I think about it. This is mostly unsupported speculation, but I think it makes sense. It's based kind of on the successor theory above, but can also be separated from it. At the end of the game, we watch Six walk through the dining room in the only instance of gameplay where it's moving primarily on the Z-axis, away from the screen, which is a fantastic and powerful way to show the change that has happened to Six. That power that she exhibits, where she seemingly drains the life force from the guests she walks past, is fantastic, and we can assume that thanks to the prelude dream that Six has in her suitcase where the lady is surrounded by that same magic black inky mist, the lady has that same kind of power. So does this mean that 6 stole that power from the lady? Well, no, actually, and this will tie in with the Dark 6 that we see. You see, 6 always had that power, but it was dormant or unfed. The Dark 6 that we see is a manifestation of those powers, waiting for the time when they're finally released and no longer dormant. We see 6 physically eat a piece of bread and a piece of meat, but when it comes to creatures, all we see her do is bite it and worry it a little bit, without consuming the thing actually at all. It's once 6 is hungry enough to sink her teeth into a living being that the powers in her start to really awaken, and she realizes that she can gain sustenance from the use of the power and not having to actually eat. However, it stands to reason that she only realizes this when she bites the rat, so in her mind, that's how she triggers this ability. Find something alive and bite it. And each time she does, that dark manifestation of her gets closer and stronger, until finally, when she feeds on the lady, we don't see Dark 6 anywhere nearby. That, my friends, is because the manifestation of 6's powers have grown strong enough to finally be released into 6's body. 6 had finally consumed enough power that she no longer needed an outer representation of it. So 6 had always had her powers, they just needed a kickstart. That's why with every eating scene, the manifestation of the power stays longer, gets closer, is more stable and visible. Once it finally got close enough, 6 became her full-function power form. In conjunction with the previous theory, this is the process that all the successors go through, where the manifestations of their power awaken one day when they have, for instance, a dream about the current lady, and then their powers start to click. They start to make more sense, and they have to start going out and using that power that is awakened by the hunger that comes from having seen that dream. So the manifestations of their power, however they manifest, must be empowered through the consumption of living things. 6 just did it a little, dramatically, we'll say. So this 6 could very well be the kind of monster against which she's been fighting. It explains why the kids in the comic are surprised and scared when she shows up. They know 6 is simultaneously in danger of the same hazards as them and see her as a kid like them, but also know that she's got some kind of powers. Powers that make them really uncomfortable because they remind the kids of the lady, perhaps. Maybe they can see the dark manifestation of 6 around her. Who knows? Well, we've touched on all of the theories about it, so I think it's safe to say that 6 is definitely more than just a normal everyday kid. What can we really gain from 6's story? What will we learn in the new DLCs? Well, we'll find out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, the like and subscribe buttons are waiting just below this video to indicate that you have been infected with the same theory bug that I have, because that's my true intentions, is to put these theories in your heads. You can also follow my socials, that's the Facebook and Twitter that are in the description box, and if you feel like it, you can throw some support my direction at the Patreon link that's down there as well. As little as $1 a month would make the greatest of difference, because food costs money. You should look forward to the next video that will be coming out, which is the results of the interview that I had with Tarsier Studios. It's going to be so good, you guys. There's a lot of really good information in it, and a lot of really teasy information as well. But look forward to it. That'll come out in a day or two. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.